Hey, it's Lloyd, and today we are inside on account of the fact there's a 70 km/h gusts of wind on the outside, and that kind of wreaks havoc with the microphone on my little camera. So yesterday I drove up to Moncton and picked up something from Bass Pro Shops, and maybe this afternoon we're going to try it out. So I picked up a Thompson Center R22 rifle, and it came in at $549, and it comes with a case. Well, something fell on the floor, so not much of a case. I might use it, I might not, I might give it away. And I guess there's a sling that comes with this. Again, I might use it, I might not, I might give it away. Bass Pro Shops was pretty good to deal with. Although, if you're one of those people that don't necessarily like the red tape, paperwork, and politics of firearms, you might find their sales procedure to be a little bit invasive here in Canada, and possibly in the U.S. too. I don't know. I've never bought anything down there. But yeah, another 15% tax on this, and you know, a brick of ammo to put through it, and it came to just over $700, which is quite a bit. They opened the box on me to show me that all the pieces were intact, but inside we got a trigger lock key and cable lock. Those are good for lever guns. I guess they're good for magazine fit rifles as well, but I don't really care for them. Bunch of paperwork here, a rifle, and what's this, a red dot sight. And I guess we don't need this box anymore. It can go to the floor. What do we got here? Another one of these trigger locks. I don't really care for these that much either. I wouldn't call it a trigger lock so much as a trigger block. And I prefer the ones that are a little bit more secure. I guess you got to spin that a few more times before you get it out there. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. I guess people use these because they're cheap. It's a way to send the firearm through the mail or to the store. What else have we got here? We got a chamber flag, and the bottom of it looks to be like it's mostly plastic. Got a Magpul stock on it. It says Thompson Center on it. Maybe I'll bring the camera in so that we can see this a little bit better. So we've got this oversized bolt handle, which is pretty interesting. And there's a bolt hold open switch down here. When you depress that, you can hold the bolt open. And we can remove our chamber flag and remove our magazine. I guess these are a rotary drum, which is basically, I guess the whole rifle is based on the Ruger 1022, and the patent has run out. So the guy at the shop told me that there's a little button here on the side that helps for loading the first round. You depress that, and I guess it compresses the spring and makes it easier to put your first round in. And apparently also it functions as there's some kind of bolt hold open on this that apparently the 1022s didn't have. The paperwork off of here. It's got a couple of M-lock slots. I'm not sure what you put on the front of this. I broke my hand 20 years ago, So sometimes I put the angled grip on this, makes it a little bit easier. It's got, I'm not sure what they call it, kind of the fiber optic sight on it, piece of luminescent plastic that picks up ambient light and glows a bit. It's got some kind of plastic threaded, it's got threads on the end of it so that you can put something on there. Suppressors are illegal in Canada, I'm not sure why, but I guess they want firearms to make noise. That's just plastic, so I might put some kind of metal muzzle device on it, or some kind of metal thread protector so that that doesn't get cracked, especially when it's cold. It's got the Picatinny rail up here for mounting optics, and I guess it's machined right into the receiver, so you can't take it off and you can't put it on. So if you do have a scope on there, there's no way that it can wobble around. The rear sight, the last 22 that I had, the sight was up here on the barrel, and had a much shorter sight radius. But I guess they call this a ghost ring sight, and it's it's a big hole that you look through to pick up the front sight. Longer sight radius, so probably more accurate. And then it's got this polymer stock, which is kind of oddly shaped compared to most hunting rifles. It's all plastic, but it seems pretty solid. It's got built-in holes here for your sling swivels, I guess. And yeah, the trigger group down here is all plastic. It seems to be some kind of a button-fired mechanism. I'm not going to take it all apart today. I'm sure there's other people on the YouTube that will do that, but put the chamber flag back in there. And what do we got for a red dot sight here? Bunch of stuff. Yeah, I don't know what kind of red dot sight this is, but what's it say here? R and G. So okay, so you got a green dot or a red dot, and if you hold the button in for a couple seconds, it turns off. I'm not sure if the camera will pick that up or not. Have a look. Yeah, I don't know if that's picking up the red dot or not that's in there, but anyway, probably not much of a sight, but I guess we'll see when we get it to the range. And what's it say here? It says it's a 4 MOA red dot sight. So I guess what that means in normal language is you should be able to hit within a 4-inch circle at 100 yards with this. If you're aiming in the middle, it'll be somewhere in there. And yeah, there's a bunch of stuff here that I can read later about field stripping this beast, and we'll see how it goes from there.
Talk about conflict of interest, right? Yeah, I thought they were okay with that. Oh, exactly. Well, they were iffy about it. Won't hire the other guy. That's okay. Although I wouldn't really want to go to Sunset anyway, because I end up on the line, just brain dead. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm okay with some of that, but yeah. I gotta be honest. I think the idea of starting your own business is going to be the best route for you. I think so.
Yeah, they have modern CCDs themselves, and so they've been studying a lot of the exploited cameras. And log in, watching this guy's front door, and was like, "Hi, anyone home?" Like, and the guy's like, yeah, who's this?" Right? So it's like, I just
Interesting.
don't freak out. I
Which
promise
fine.
I'm here to help. And the guy's like,
That was the very first malfunction I've
Who
had
are
with
you?
it.
When I was in
What'd you think of that?
I think the weight difference is the most apparent thing to me.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
a lighter gun, so
Yeah.
it's moving more.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even. Yeah, it definitely moved more, but it felt really comfortable.
Yeah.
Comparatively, I think.
I got it
But,
for skiing, right? So you go skiing, and it's just
Ah.
really nice and light to carry. It's got a big sling, and you can adjust it
The
out,
grip
throw
is
it over
nice.
a backpack or something.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
grip is nice too.
I like the stock.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. I like
Yeah,
that
it's really
style
nice.
stock. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I'm actually surprised because, like Abby commented before, it's got more kick than what you would expect. But that's because the barrel, compared to my Ruger there, like the Remington, I should say, the Remington stays flat the whole time, whereas this has got, it bumps up, it bumps up. Now that being said, I wasn't taking advantage of actually holding anything. I let it bump up. And again, I'm using an iron sight.
It's lighter and shorter too, so
Yeah, exactly.
it might
but
have something to do with
The
it.
trigger is much nicer. Like I noticed that right away. It's a much crisper trigger compared to the Remington. The only complaint I would say is the Remington's definitely made to allow you to take gloves. This, I couldn't get my finger in like that, so I was pushing it on the edge. Whereas with that, I could get my full glove through. But all in all, it's, if I could have something to keep the muzzle flatter, because again, I'm surprised how much it's moving up.
Yeah.
Kind of like the bird cage on the end. I don't know how much it does because there's not much gas
No,
behind
exactly.
it anyway.
At least
But
it is pushing it like down, right?
yeah,
But yeah, I'm surprised. But again, that trigger is probably the nicest part of it for sure.
Yeah.
And I feel like I get a faster response. I know I get a faster response with this one. I feel like I wasn't doing it this time, but I can tell just at how quick the action was and how crisp the trigger response was that I could probably shoot about 1 1/3 times faster than the
Yeah.
Remington.
time will tell. I haven't put hardly any rounds through it, but we'll
No,
see what we'll see.
exactly. That's interesting. I see they've got what looks like a plunger there. On
Yeah,
the
it's like a
too.
button fire.
That is nice. I like that. But again, like, yeah, no, like it's definitely worth what you pay. I'd say for sure.
What did you pay for that one?
$550 was it?
Yeah, you can get it for $550. It came with a red dot sight, so it's a little bit more expensive.
Oh,
But
okay.
I doubt I'll use the red dot sight.
But it's got no weight to it. It's
Yeah, it's a good gun to carry. So
exactly, you'd be fine with it through the forest. I like it. I really do. And looking at my grouping here from here, just, you know, I can see that that's my finger pull that was pulling it off to the right hand side, and also the fact that I couldn't, because my gloves were big, I couldn't properly squeeze the trigger.
yeah,
But aside from that, no, it's great. And again, even that being said, where I couldn't get my, you know, finger actually in the trigger guard there, the fact that I still got everything within at least 1.5 inches grouping is not bad at all.
yeah. It'll make the bunnies fall down.
Yes, it will.
So it's a week later since I bought this particular rifle. I've done a couple things to it. I put I guess they call it an A2 flash hider on the front. It came with a plastic threaded muzzle thread protector, and I figured that would most likely get broken, especially in the cold. So for a couple bucks I threw that on there. It came with a stainless steel crush washer, and I didn't have confidence that I'd be able to put that on this rifle and tighten it enough, so I used a O-ring and some thread locker and got it positioned right. I was afraid that I would damage the stock or possibly even damage the receiver if I put it in a vise, But anyway, that went on and it stayed quite well with the O-ring and the thread locker. I also put a Magpul angled foregrip on here, which I tend to like those. I broke my hand a few years ago and it did not heal right, and I just get a little bit of pain if I'm hanging onto a flat surface, but I find these are pretty good. It also has the added benefit of keeping your hand in the exact same spot on the stock. It's not nearly as comfortable as the older ones, which were a little bit bigger, but this, you can use this in two different ways. You could put your hand up here, or I suppose if you wanted to grasp the stock, you could use that as a hand stop so that your hand was in the exact same position. I also put a sling on it. This is nothing special, it's just something that I made. I tend to like them big so I could wear it over a backpack. I was going to do a biathlon sling, but I was lazy. This is a bit easier, and all in all, not a bad rifle. A little bit expensive, but I guess it comes with all of the upgrades that people typically do to their Ruger 1022s. It is a very, very snappy, nice shooting rifle. A bit light. Everybody that fired it today thought that it had a little bit of recoil for a 22 caliber, but it points easy, it carries easy, and everything about it says it's going to be a good rifle for skiing or for hunting small game, rabbits, etc. So, how does it compare to other 22s that I've had? The only malfunctions I had, and I bought the cheapest ammo that money could buy. I got some like Remington Thunderbolts, and you know, every time we try to load the magazine, one or two of the lead would come right out of the casing. They weren't crimped very well. Didn't have a single failure. The only time that I experienced any failures with it, it was a little bit of moisture got in the magazine. Very, very cold out there today. And because of the moisture in the magazine, the follower wasn't pushed up the spring. It kind of got some ice in there, and so it didn't feed on one occasion. But while the gun was hot, it was just eating anything that we'd put in it. We tried it with subsonics. Of course, it wouldn't cycle those. But yeah. I had a Remington 597 before. I've had a few other 22s. I had like an old school Cooey 64B, and this is probably the best of the bunch. I don't necessarily like the rotary mag, the 1022 rotary magazine, but that's just a preference. It's a little bit more difficult to load than, say, the Remington 597 that I used to have, but it certainly seems to function better. Maybe it's the rifle, maybe it's the magazine, I'm not sure, but I didn't have a single failure to feed or a single failure to eject, other than when a little bit of ice got in the magazine. So you do actually feel a little bit of recoil on this gun, which is unusual for a 22. Most of the ones I've had before were all heavy wood stocked, and you know, there's no felt recoil at all. This is such a light gun. There's going to be a little bit there, but it's a smaller gun, so it's good for a smaller stature shooter. Abby put a couple of magazines through it today, and she seemed to enjoy it. So I'm going to give it a solid 8 out of 10, and nothing's perfect. You know, there's no golden gun that's going to get a 10 out of 10, and I'm not even sure that there's a gun out there that's a 9 out of 10 for under $1,000. But by the time you get one of these, I think you're going to have a gun that's going to do most everything you want it to do. It's a good carry gun for hunting. It's a good little plinker, good for target practice, and you can even use it to teach younger children to shoot for the first time. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 8 out of 10. It came with a red dot sight. I tried that at one point, and it wasn't zeroed in. I only had an hour or so to work at the range today. So yeah, we didn't get to use that. As far as groupings that we got with this, I'm not really sure what you can see here, but on the first time that I tried this out was at 25 meters just to test the iron sights, and everything was in this area here. And so that's probably a 5 or 6 inch grouping, and that's probably more down to operator error than the gun itself. I'd never used peep sights like that before. I'm used to like a blade and notch style. The second one I fired off of a tripod that I normally sit the camera on, and at 25 meters I was able to get, I don't know, we'll call that a 2 inch grouping, and so that was pretty decent. And then these other ones here was just some attempts at rapid fire at 12 meters, and pretty much all of those were in the circle. So, you know, what's that, a 4 inch circle? So, you know, at 25 meters, you know, just standing there, everything's going to be inside the size of the kill area on a rabbit. And if you're braced up against something, in this case I used the tripod for the camera, that shrunk to about half, and then just rapid fire like plinking. Again, everything's within a 4 inch circle, so you know, something the size of a rabbit or something the size of a pop can. So yeah, all in all, good gun, 8 out of 10. Highly recommend it for consideration, and in addition to your outdoor gear, hunting supplies. And as always, if you like the video, feel free to hit the like button. If you like the channel, feel free to hit the subscribe button, and share it with anybody you think might like it. And if you don't like it, share it with your enemies. I will punish them for free. And maybe in the upcoming months and you know, in the future, we'll do more of these gear reviews on some of the gear that I use, or some of the new things that I'm trying out. And as always, have a good day.